I don't know that I would be here today in this studio with this group of misfits if it wasn't for you. So I do appreciate it.
Well, then, God bless all you boys for taking the right chemicals at the right time.
That's right. Yeah. So I was going to do this incredible introduction for this next gentleman, but I think his body of work speaks for itself. So let me just rattle off a few names, a few of his characters here. Yakko Warner, Carl Weezer, Raphael and Donatello, not the painters, the Ninja Turtles. And of course, Pinky from Pinky and the Brain. It's Mr. Rob Paulsen. Thank you so much for being here with us today. It's a pleasure.
Hello, Michael. You've interrupted me. I'm getting ready to watch the Super Bowl from the top of the water tower.
I was going to ask you, Louis Anderson just passed away, and I know you did. Yeah. You've been doing cartoons for so many years. Did you ever work on Life with Louis?
I didn't, but I have a great Louis Anderson story. He was a delightful man. We all know how talented he was. But the year that I won my lone Emmy, which I won for Pinky, Louis had won the year before for his show called Life with Louis, and was always very sort of demure, I should say, maybe not the right word, but very deferential about winning one because he thought it was sort of by accident. And the year that I won mine, he came up to me. He was nominated again the same year that I won mine. And he just said, "Hey, Rob, I meant to tell you, you're the only one that deserves one of these damn things. You really know what you're doing." And I thought it was so telling of what a delightful, kind guy he was. And I disagreed with him. I said, "Look, ain't nobody going to argue with you winning anything, Louis. You've developed this show on your own." But he was a terrific guy, very sweet guy.
It's always surprising to me when I watch some cartoon. I'm a big cartoon fan and big fan of animation. And I'll watch a show. I was watching Timon and Pumbaa the other day on Disney Plus. Yeah. And you played some bird character because I can recognize your characters right away because ever since I was a little kid. And I'm like, that's Rob Paulsen. And, you just pop up in all these different cartoons. And I'm like, this is incredible. It's just, you've had just such an amazing career and you've worked with so many talented people. Have you ever walked into the room, you saw somebody there that you're like, I can't believe I'm working with this person, like some sort of a celebrity that you were even starstruck with?
Well, as a matter of fact, Mr. Blank, I remember I got to work with Mel Blank twice. And the first time I got to work with him, I worked with him twice within about a year. And he was getting on. He was probably close to 80. And he passed away at, I think, 81 or 82. So he was getting toward the end. But it was a Jetsons project. And you guys may remember that he played Mr. Spacely, George Jetson's boss. Jetson, that guy. And Gordon Hunt, the late, great Gordon Hunt, who directed those cartoons at Hanna-Barbera, called in the day before and he said, "Hey, man, Mel's coming in tomorrow. Do you want me to schedule you so you can sit next to Mel?" And I said, amen, you bet. And I wasn't nervous. I was excited to the bone.
Yeah.
I've never had the pleasure to meet him. And I remember sort of sitting next to him and saying, "Mr. Blank," I extended my hand. "Pleasure to meet you. My name is Rob Paulsen. Like anyone with a pulse, I'm a huge fan. And before we start, if it's not too much trouble, would you mind?" And he knew, of course, exactly what I wanted because he'd been doing it for 50 years.
Right.
He just took his glasses off and looked at me and said, "Yeah, what's up, Doc?" And oh my God, you guys. All of a sudden, I was a 10-year-old back in Detroit, Michigan, eating Cocoa Krispies. And it blew my mind. And he was a delight. But God almighty, every now and then I think I'm getting good at my job. And then I go back and I listen to Looney Tunes. Even if you just watch them for, half a dozen episodes. Mel did everything.
Yeah.
And it was, I'm not saying anything that people don't know, but it's utterly timeless. Great writing, great execution, great animation. The Chuck Jones, Bob McKimson, the music, Carl Stalling, Milt Franklin, utterly timeless. All these folks are gone now and it doesn't matter. It just is world-class entertainment and it lasts forever.
Yeah. I got to give props to Eric Bauza. I've been following him.
Oh, man.
He's just picking up that mantle and just running with it.
How about that kid, And even he will say, "Yeah, I'm doing Bugs and Space Jam." And I think he did Porky. No, that was Bob Bergen. But it takes about 4 or 5 people to do what Mr. Blank did for literally, 45 years.
Yeah.
And right up to the end. But boy, yeah, I've had the great good fortune of working with many world-class talents. That one was one I'll never forget. But listen, man, I get to go to work every day with people who are my best friends, but they're Billy West and Jess Harnell and Maurice LaMarche and Tress MacNeille and Nancy Cartwright and Dan Castellaneta, and just over and over and over and over again. And we've all been to each other's homes and kids' birthday parties and funerals of parents and all that stuff. But at the end of every day, I think, how on earth did I win the lottery? I get to work with these people, and then I get to come and hang with you guys. Life's pretty good.
I don't know if that's the good part, but we'll leave that up to the jury. Looking over your filmography, I can tell that you've got a lot of things under the Warner Brothers branch, and you got a lot under the Disney branch. And, I kind of have this conclusion just by viewing both over time, over my life. When you watch Warner Brothers animation, it seems a little bit more fun. And when you watch Disney, it's a little bit more, it's fun. Not nearly maybe as comedic, but maybe a little bit more serious, in how terms they look at their product. Now, I'm just kind of curious of how I don't know if it's like the studio culture there, or maybe just how they approach things, but does that actually give rise to the function that happens, with the final product?
I think it does, Clark. And I think I've always said that if Disney is the happiest place on earth and Warner Brothers is the funniest place on earth. And I know exactly what you're talking about. Disney, to me, is a place that I go to watch things that might even elicit a tear or two. Right. Just a really lovely sentiment. It's pretty difficult to watch The Lion King without tearing up.
Right.
I worked on a bunch of Tinkerbell movies, and they're just as charming as can be. But the whole Disney experience is about charm. Even Prince Charming, it's about love and beauty and kindness and sweet little characters. My God, to this day, do yourselves, all of you guys and your listeners and watchers, do yourselves a favor and watch Bambi.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I can't. I can't do that one, and I can't do Fox the Hound because I'll just be an emotional mess.
But brilliant storytelling.
Yeah.
And the animation in Bambi, when they're in the forest and the leaves, the leaves from the fall are going like this, that's all hand drawn.
Right.
And it is just remarkable to watch, let alone when Bambi's mother gets it. It'll just put you down, man. But by the same token, it's pretty difficult to watch any Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner piece without laughing from your soul.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And so I do think that the ethos of those respective studios dictate, by and large, dictate their product. I think you're spot on.
So I read your book, Voice Lessons, and which you have an incredible career, and it was incredible to read and kind of relive that journey with you. But I think the biggest takeaway from me was just your outlook on life during your cancer treatments.
Yeah.
And how you said, when you got the news that you have throat cancer, you kind of looked at it like, hey, I've lived a great life. If this is how I go, I go. And if it's not how I go, I'm going to keep doing what I love. And it was inspiring for me. I was in a tragic scooter accident where I shattered my leg in a few places. And for me, I get paid to talk. I talk for a living. And it didn't affect my work whatsoever. But mentally, it kind of breaks you down to where you're like, this is who I'm going to be. I'm not going to be able to do what I used to do. And you had a totally different outlook on life than I did. And it was a much more serious thing that you were going through than what I was going through. So I looked at that and said, well, I need to stop being such a baby about everything and start looking at life a little bit more like how you did it. And to me, that was more inspiring and the biggest takeaway I took from that book. And I think everyone can learn a little bit from you on that.
Thank you. That's very kind of you, Michael. You're absolutely right. Once I was diagnosed, I was not as young as you guys. I wasn't a 30-year-old father. I wasn't a kid, a guy who was just starting his career. I'd had by any measure a hell of a run. But as a result of this lovely career that I still get to do, I have had, in the guise of hundreds of children, literally, and their parents, talk about inspirational, talk about fearless, talk about guts, determination. These children who, as a result of this career, many of them want to talk to Raphael or Carl or Pinky or whomever. And more often than not, the parents get a kick out of talking to Yakko or Donatello just as much as the kids do. But when you're able to be with people at the most difficult, diabolical times of their sweet babies' lives, and you see what real courage, real empathy is, it can't help but inspire you to do the same. So I had a little bit of a leg up. No pun intended with your broken leg. I had a little bit of a leg up because I get to be with people, even if it's tangentially, whether it's on the phone or sitting next to them in a hospital bed. Most people don't get that opportunity, you guys. And it's not for everybody, but when it happens, it's impossible to leave the room of a sick child without having your life changed, in a way that is by and large quite positive. But these parents would keep in touch with me often after their children didn't make it. And when they found out that I was dealing with cancer, you want to see some letters or some texts that'll really, really inspire you. It's, you never know how much Raphael meant to Jordan. This is a picture of him talking to you on the phone. As, of course, he passed away 12 years ago. He would be 20 now. We just want you to know that Jordan's, when we talk to him at night, we tell him to pray for you and all. Holy smoke. It's mind blowing. So the upshot of all of it is that I still go to work. I get to be a blue collar worker in the dream factory. And I am essentially in the happy business. And if I can't find a way to get myself out of my own way, then shame on me. But thank you for reading the book.
It's a great book. I encourage everyone to go on Amazon or your website, wherever you sell it at, and grab you a copy of it, because it is very inspiring.
Thank you.
Now there's two new seasons of Animaniacs on Hulu right now.
Yes, right now.
And they're they're just as good as the '90s version. It's incredible. Do you guys get to record this in studio together, or were these episodes recorded remotely? Like, how did COVID affect that production?
Both. We started doing them in the traditional sense, which is always much better to be with the other actors. When you get to walk in a room with those people, the high tide raises all boats. I just get better.
Yeah.
I'm way better with those other people around me. But due to COVID, we did have to record from our home studios. And as a sort of plan B, it worked fine. If you're in a live action gig, you weren't working for about a year and change. The cool thing about voice work is that A, nobody cares what you look like. And B, if God forbid COVID intervenes, then we can still record from home.
Yeah.
The animators can work from home, voice talent. My goodness, they even had we have a 30-piece orchestra for every half hour. And the musicians were even recording from home. And then there was a whole lot of editing on the back end. But thank you very much, Michael. I am so proud of the new shows. I really do think that Mr. Spielberg and his crew absolutely nailed it again.
Yeah.
So to collect lightning in a bottle a second time is very unusual. When you think about it, a show that was a hit when you guys were little guys, to come back 25 years later with the same voice cast, with Mr. Spielberg, again, who's 75 years old. He just got nominated for his 11th Oscar, I think. And have it be not kind of a half-assed version, but a kick-ass version.
Yeah.
It's very unusual, and it's not lost on me. I'm blown away by it.
One of the first CDs I ever got when I got my CD player in 1993 was the Wacko's World album.
Oh my God.
And it was just little hits from this, like it's got the one with Yakko singing about the globe.
Countries,
and that just kind of brings up a question of mine. How much harder is it to sing in the voice as opposed to talk in the voice?
It depends on where the voice is placed. Like
Yakko is, kind of that helium vibe. And because what happens when I start speaking this way is, of course, people look at me funny. But the other thing, this is the coolest thing to do, though, is when Animaniacs had Happy Meals, doing the drive-through with Yakko's voice was a blast. But there are certain notes, as you can imagine, because of the way I close my throat off, there are certain notes that are just not doable. And frankly, after cancer, there were a couple of notes I lost at the top of my range too. However, I read music, and the musicians are such that they can just take it and tweak the key a little bit. But yeah, I can still do Tunisia, Morocco, Uganda, Angola, Zimbabwe, Djibouti, Botswana, and it's just
incredible. I've seen him do this live. Actually, I've seen you and Randy Rigel do this live in your tour. I went to your concert one time, and it was incredible.
Well, I mean, you got to update that song like every 4 or 5 years.
It is updated.
They didn't have South Sudan in 1993.
Check this out. Here's a little updated version. Randy wrote an updated version that includes most of the countries that have come up since that song was written. It goes like this. It goes.
Montenegro and Bosnia-Herzegovina, the Soviet Union is gone. South Africa, Georgia, Moldova, Latvia, Belarus, Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan, hey, Kazakhstan, hey, then there's Tajikistan too, hey, Turkmenistan, hey, Kurdistan, Armenia, Tonga, Palau, Lithuania, Serbia, Kosovo, US, Samoa, the Balkans, Brunei, Macau and Crimea, then Eritrea, Ukraine and Estonia, here's Macedonia, New Caledonia, Eastern Slavonia, Ivory Coast and Cape Verde, Andorra, the Solomon Islands, Dubai. How about that?
Absolutely incredible. I got to ask, does your wife, and I know you do these songs all the time, does your wife go like in the other room, she's like, oh my gosh, he's doing the song again?
My wife's pat response is not even a verbal response. It's just it's funny, as long as the check's clear, then
yeah, she's fine with it. Yeah.
It goes from the ooh.
Yeah. Now, have you heard this theory that's been going around on the internet about Pinky and the Brain? The lyrics are in the theme song, one is the genius and the other's insane,
right?
But it never says who's who. And a lot of people are thinking Pinky is the genius. Do you have thoughts on this?
Without question. I mean, look at this man. He's got a giant head, but it's full of water. I'm the real genius. Nerve. Absolutely.
I think that one could be, the argument could be made that Pinky's the genius because none of Brain's plans come to fruition. But Pinky's also the genius because if Brain's plans came to fruition, we'd be out of a job. We have to be able to have them all fall apart so we can come back and do another episode. So I'm not nearly as stupid as people say I am.
Now, I know you get this question a lot, but we have a fellow thespian here in the studio, Eric here. He's been trying to be an actor and dabbled in voiceover work and stuff like that. And so what's one piece of advice that you would give any actor of any type that's wanting to get into the industry? My
area of expertise is obviously voice acting, but to me, Eric, acting is acting. I don't care whether it's your voice, your face. I started out like most people who do what I do, doing live action, that is theater first, a lot of music, came to LA ostensibly to ply my trade doing TV and movies and commercials, all of which I was doing. Then the opportunity arose to do animation, but it turns out that acting is acting. Mm-hmm. When I create a character, whether it's Yakko or, Carl Weezer, who's just a straight up whack job. I don't even know where the hell that guy came from. But the things that inspire me to create are the same things that they were doing on camera stuff. So another thing that really comes in handy in any acting gig is improv. Improv is such a phenomenal skill to cultivate. It helps me every single day to be able to think on your feet. Also creating a character that is beloved versus one that is just taken up space. I've had plenty of those as well. But the ones that end up being utterly, or I should say arguably iconic, and I think I can make this claim for Billy West or Maurice or Nancy Cartwright or the others, is that they all come up with aspects of their characters that are so unique that actors will look at them and go, where the hell did that guy come up with that?
Mm-hmm.
Where did she come up with that? And that's what makes it live.
Yeah.
So I would remind myself that acting is acting, irrespective of where you're doing it, and cultivate your improv skills for anybody. When you're able to speak extemporaneously, like when you guys do this job, if you're rocking and rolling and you've got a guest that is teeing things up for you, it really helps to be able to play.
Yeah.
And just jump right in with both feet. So those are key to what I do.
Do you think with the advancement with technology, do you think you still have to like move to LA, or you can basically be anywhere in the world? Just, I mean, as long as
I don't think you do, Eric. I think the one reason I think that people would have to live here is if, and probably this will change too, but I work for all the major studios. So if for whatever reason, and I promise I'll wait till we're done talking about it, if I happen to drop dead today, the people with whom I work, I hope would say, oh, what a shame. He was a decent guy. Oh, well, we better recast. Hollywood doesn't need me. I don't think it's impossible to make a living by living somewhere else, especially with respect to voice work. However, still to work for the major studios, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, Disney, Warner Brothers, Nickelodeon, I would submit that you probably have to still be here because everybody is here. And those are all union jobs.
Right.
Those are all jobs that come under the auspices of the Screen Actors Guild. So for me, I don't think it would be impossible for me to go and move somewhere else. But if I were suggesting a young person or a young person wanted to get into this at this stage, I would probably say, why don't you come to LA and get established and have people know who you are, because you're right here.
Right.
I mean, if I'm not available, they call and get Jess Harnell. If he's not available, they call Frank Welker. If he's not available, they call Jim Cummings. If he's not available, they call Billy West or John DiMaggio. You know, that's just the guys, let alone all the incredible female talent. But what often happens is people come here and get established, pay some dues, get to meet everybody, and then they find that they're able to go back home and live in Buffalo, or they want to go back and and their loved ones are in North Carolina or in Oklahoma, whatever, because it is very expensive to live here. So if your goal is to do what I do, I still think you need to be here to kind of get established, but that's just my take on it because I've never lived anywhere else. I've been here for almost 44 years.
Wow, thank you for that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you ever plan on retiring? I hope you don't. I hope you're like June Foray and you work and you're 90 years old in the booth. You know?
No, man. I want to be. Are you wearing a Bob Saget shirt?
I am.
Oh,
yeah. You know what? That's what I want to do. I didn't know Bob, but Maurice was a dear friend, and one of my best friends is Dave Coulier.
Yeah.
So
I love Dave.
I want to go out like Bob. I want to go out working, and then, I mean, you guys, I love my job so much, and all I have to do is say, Narv. Look what happens.
Yeah.
It isn't even a proper word, for Christ's sake. And I have 3 lovely guys that I get to hang out with on a beautiful Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
And I am so blessed that my job is to be in the happy business. And thanks to nice people like you guys, when I get to do these interviews, people pay more attention down the road, and I get recognized more and more. And the upshot of every single time, and I mean every single time that I'm recognized, is joy.
Yeah.
People say, are you Rob Paulsen? I say, are you with the IRS? And oh my God, dude, let me tell you about Ninja Turtles, man. Let me tell you about what Animaniacs meant to me. Or Mr. Paulsen, I was in the foster home system and I'm fine now and I'm married, but you will never know how Pinky and the Brain got me through moving to a new home every 3 or 4 years. It was brutal, but you will never know this. Or I did 2 tours of duty and I took my Ninja Turtle DVDs with me and things like that. And then all it does is end up being a joyful experience for everybody. So as long as people will be kind enough to hire me, man, I am in.
You know, as you're talking about Ninja Turtles, I got one other question. Because I'm one of those guys that like I think I was like 5 or 6 when the animated show came out, and then I was probably 8 or 9 when the live action movie came out. And you know, we all wanted a live action movie, and we wanted it to be good. And I guess like when you're 8 or 9, like anything would be good. But then when you kind of watch it a little bit and you go back to the shows, you're like, there's just something that's not really catching the spirit of it. And then one day I looked up, like Corey Haim was a voice of a turtle, and you know they had to have 2 distinct actors to do, you know, your roles. Right. And do you kind of think sometimes when they transition an animated show to live action, if they don't use the same actor for that voice, does that character lose some of its sustenance?
Well, it did for you.
Yeah. Well, and retrospectively, and retrospectively, because I mean, like I said, when I was 8 years old and I was in the theater, I was like, I think I just saw Lawrence of Arabia, but you know,
totally. No, and I get it. And the other thing is that I always have when I have these lovely opportunities, like I am with you guys, I try to make it clear that the characters are famous. I'm really good at my job, and you guys are making a fuss over Rob Paulsen today, and I'm very humbled by that. But I don't draw them and I don't write them. It is the characters who become famous. However, I can make the argument, especially now with the success of Animaniacs 2.0, that if you've got something that really captivates an audience, that the soul and the voice of the character is definitely an integral part of that experience. And I think that Mr. Spielberg, matter of fact, I know, he made a conscious choice to say, if we're going to do this again, we're going to have Rob Paulsen, Tress MacNeille, Maurice LaMarche, and Jess Harnell.
Yeah.
And I think he made a very wise choice. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it butters my bread, but it's not about hiring Peter Dinklage to be the Brain and Russell Brand to be Pinky.
Right.
You know, it's about the authenticity of those characters. Now, Ninja Turtles is a little different because it was such a juggernaut.
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, they probably, well, and they did, even movie to movie had different actors doing the character voices. But I'll tell you what's fascinating is all these years later, when I meet guys that are your age and they come up to me with their families at a Comic-Con or whatever, and they're all wearing their Ninja Turtle t-shirts and they're 37, 38, 40, 45 years old, not one of them is interested in hearing anything but the original Raphael.
Yeah.
You know, they want to hear me saying, "Shredder, you tin-faced geek, get back here and taste cold turtle steel."
Which I have one of Rob's characters right here in a little popcorn. Yeah,
right on.
Raphael, and we got Donatello back.
So I think that there is something to be said to the authenticity of that executing a character is whether it's animated or live action. If it's done right, then I think the audience wants the real deal whenever it comes back.
Absolutely.
We're going to wrap up here, but I want to know, you've made a lot of TV over the years. What shows are you currently watching right now?
1883. Man.
Oh, great show. We have a friend that's in that show. Jordan Ross. Yeah. It's a great show.
Brilliant show. It looks great. It is beautifully acted. Tim McGraw, I had no idea I knew that he was a talented country singer, but let me tell you what, he is killing it.
Yeah.
Sam Elliott is Sam Elliott. He's just perfect. Totally cast for this. Sam Elliott is like 78 years old. Man, you see that fella get up on a horse, ride the shit out of it. Yeah. Just fantastic. I'm really enjoying the wretched excess of The Gilded Age with Christine Baranski.
Yeah.
Done by Julian Fellows, who did Downton Abbey.
Okay.
And I gotta say, I'm at the risk of sounding self-aggrandizing, but who cares? I really like Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah. You should like your own stuff.
Songs. There's a song in the latest 13 episodes that dropped in November called Yakko's Big Idea, about vacationing out in the solar system because of all the things that the Hubble telescope has found. And it's just a killer song. But my God, there's so much stuff out there. Oh, and also All Creatures Great and Small on PBS. It's one of those ones. It's like Disney.
Yeah.
It's all feel good. It's all great. It harkens back to a time that is so incredibly simple that you just don't want it to stop. So there is so much good stuff out there, but I really appreciate you guys giving me so much time, and it's always just a joy to speak with you, Mike.
Absolutely. And where can we find you? What projects you have coming up? I know you do your podcast. Are you still doing that?
I'm not still doing it, but all of them are available on Pluto TV.
Awesome.
I did 90 versions of the on-camera. I did 90 of the on-camera versions for Nerdist. And if you want to see all the people we've mentioned, boy, you take these people and just poke them with a stick and off they go. So if you go to Pluto TV and look for Talkin' Tunes with Rob Paulsen, TALKIN apostrophe TOONS, you can see those. We're currently finishing up Animaniacs season 3 for this fall on Hulu again. And a couple of things that I'm under NDA that
okay.
Expressed under penalty of death.
Right.
I've always got something going on, but as long as you're nice enough to talk to me, I'm very grateful. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Like I said, you're my Mel Blank. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I thank you so much for your time to speak with us morons over here.
You guys take good care of yourselves and go Rams.
There you go. Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye now.